What's going on, guys? Welcome in to another episode of the Chiefs Zone podcast, a Monday edition, a Victory Monday edition of the Chiefs Zone podcast. Appreciate you guys taking the time to join me on a Monday, whether you're listening live or maybe you're listening later on in the night or the next morning. Appreciate all of you guys tuning in to another episode of the Chiefs Zone podcast as we talk about the Chiefs now stand at 10-1, back in the win column here. And there are some things to talk about here. I think we gotta have a conversation about Patrick Mahomes and his level of play lately, as he has been playing better lately, and it's not getting talked about much by a lot of people. It's really not. But we'll talk about it. We'll certainly talk about it for sure. We'll also talk about the Chiefs officially signing DJ Humphries. The Chiefs have not made any kind of announcement on this, but on the NFL transaction wire, it has been made official as of today, Monday, November the 25th. So he is indeed a member of the Kansas City Chiefs roster. Otherwise, it would not be on their on the NFL's transaction wire. It's a little weird that the Chiefs are not saying anything, but that's I guess that's just the way things are working out. They'll probably say something about it tomorrow, but no worries. DJ Humphries, he's part of the team. People have been wondering why is this not made official. It is, but the Chiefs have not said anything yet. They will soon, though. And then some other things to get into here with the Kansas City Chiefs and some of the narratives out there with this football team. All of that, and we'll also answer some questions, read some comments as we do each and every single episode. So if you guys are watching live, I see you guys. The viewers are going up, so that means more and more people are tuning in. I always say that because the live stream is like always it's always behind by a significant amount. I remember when I first started using this platform, when I would do my live stream through StreamYard, that is, the first 60 seconds, there's hardly anyone watching. I'm like, okay, I guess I'm going to talk to myself. No, we just got to give it time. We just got to give it time. So that is how it works. Before we get into the podcast, I want to let you know this podcast is brought to you by SeatGeek. SeatGeek is where I go to for all of my sports ticketing needs, whether it's Chiefs, Royals, KU sports, football, and basketball. A lot of sports action coming up right now. We still got college football going on with the local college teams. Obviously, college basketball underway. We've got the number one college basketball team in the country nearby. Also got the number one NFL team in Kansas City. And if you guys want to catch any of the action, go to SeatGeek. That is where I go for all of my sports ticketing needs. You pick your tickets, and if you're a new customer at checkout, use my promo code FARZINE and you will save $20 off your first order from SeatGeek. Go to SeatGeek.com, pick your tickets, and at checkout, new customers can use my promo code FARZINE and they will save $20 off their first purchase from SeatGeek. I see you guys in the comments here. Appreciate you guys. Be patient. I'll get into your guys' comments, questions, whatever's on your mind. Please post it below and I'll get to those later on in the podcast. Let's start things off here talking about Patrick Mahomes, because it's not getting talked about with Mahomes and how much better he's playing. Mahomes was struggling early on in the season. That was definitely a talking point everybody loved to talk about. And now it seems like the attention has shifted away from Mahomes now that he's playing better. Interesting how those narratives work. I always say, you guys have heard me say this many times. Bring the same energy. Bring the same energy. Well, let's talk about Patrick Mahomes and what allowed him to play much better. The first 6 games, Patrick Mahomes, 6 touchdown passes, 8 interceptions, and was co-leading the league in interceptions during those first 6 games. I believe he's still like tied first or second in that category. I'll look it up just to be certain on that right there, because I know he did not throw any in yesterday's game. But Patrick Mahomes, certainly statistically speaking, did not look very good the first 6 games of the season. 6-8 touchdown to interception ratio. But you look at how he's played lately, and by the way, Patrick Mahomes, he's tied second in interceptions with Jordan Love. The only player above him is Geno Smith. Geno's got 12 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. Patrick has 18 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, the same exact stat line as touchdown to interception stat line as Jordan Love. Underneath him is Sam Darnold, who has 21 to 10 Gardner Minshew has the next most interceptions, 9-10. 9 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, 9 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. Then it's Kirk Cousins. He's got 9. Goff has 9. Baker has 9. Levis has 9. Stroud has 9. So those are the guys in the top 5. Obviously, you've got or top 6 rather. You got a lot of people tied 6th in that category. But Patrick Mahomes has been playing a lot better lately. Last 5 games, certainly better than the first 6 games. 12 touchdowns and 3 picks in the last 5 games. Let me read that to you one more time. 12 touchdowns, 3 interceptions in the last 5 games. Then compare that to the first 6 games. Patrick Mahomes has thrown double the amount of touchdowns and has thrown more than half the amount of interceptions. So definitely playing a hell of a lot better. And no one's talking about it. No one's talking about it outside of Kansas City. Yeah, even in Kansas City, actually. I don't think a lot of people are recognizing that stat line there. I mean, listen, Buffalo fans, they used to defend Josh Allen so much for having a high number of turnovers. But now that he's doing a much better job taking care of the football, and rightfully so is in the MVP conversation, Buffalo fans suddenly want to talk about interceptions with Patrick Mahomes. Interesting. But now that Mahomes has been playing much better lately, that conversation has evaporated for a lot of people. Yeah, the Ravens. So I'm talking to you guys. So I did watch the first drive of the game. Justin Herbert capped it off with a touchdown run of his own. I did not. I'm focusing on this podcast. Oh, Herbert got beat up back there or tried to spin out of there. I saw it was 1st and 25 for the Ravens. Obviously, they don't have the ball anymore. I don't know what the hell happened there, but I'm telling you guys right now, this Lamar Jackson MVP discussion seriously has to be some of the most forced MVP talks out there. I don't see it. And honestly, if you're going to pick an MVP from the Baltimore Ravens, it's Derrick Henry over Lamar Jackson to me. Absolutely no way it's Lamar. If I'm picking an MVP from the Ravens, it's Derrick Henry, not Lamar Jackson. But anyway. Now, even though Patrick Mahomes has a much better touchdown stat line and has improved on his interceptions, throwing less of those, his sack numbers are up. First 6 games, 11 sacks. Last 5 games, he's had far more sacks, 16 sacks. And I think Wanye Morris and Kingsley Suamataia, whoever is in at left tackle, they're really getting worse as the season goes on. And I know Jawan Taylor is a very inconsistent right tackle. He'll have some good games and then he'll have some really bad games. By the way, I saw the Chiefs. The Chiefs always do this every time it's somebody's birthday. They publicly wish this player happy birthday, and they'll tag him on social media. They didn't do it for Rashee Rice because I think after the accident that he was involved in, the wreck with the race in Dallas, I think like the next day or two, it was Rice's birthday and the Chiefs did not say a damn thing, which is understandable. But then they wished Jawan Taylor a happy birthday. Oh, boy, those comments. I saw someone from Sports Radio 810 say, quote, tweeting the Chiefs, saying you wished him a happy birthday a day early, false start. I'm like, oh, come on. You can't be doing that. But anyway, happy birthday to Jawan Taylor. I mean, might as well just say it without being a dick about it, like some people. He does need to play better, though. No question about it. How much is DJ Humphries coming in? How much is that going to help Patrick Mahomes and this Chiefs offense? I think it's going to help a lot. I really do. But I think the whole situation with the Chiefs right now and the offense playing better, because a lot of people are talking about the defense not being as good as it's been the past, 31 games. Unlike the last 2 weeks, they're playing worse. And by the way, I do think the Buffalo game is maybe blown a little out of proportion, and I'll get into that shortly. But I'm looking at the Chiefs. What do you guys notice? What is the common factor in these last 5 games that's allowed Patrick Mahomes to play better? Again, 12 touchdowns, 3 picks in these last 5 games. Oh, who joined the team right before right before the last 5 games. Oh, that's right. The Chiefs went out there and they got DeAndre Hopkins. That has played a huge role for Patrick Mahomes and this Chiefs offense. In fact, let me read you some of Patrick Mahomes' stats in these last 5 games. So against the Raiders, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. That 1 pick backed up against his own end zone, threw that pick, and that's when the defense got that sack. So essentially, the interception was kind of a worthless one because the Raiders could not do anything off that turnover there. Against Tampa Bay, Mahomes threw 3 touchdowns, no picks. Against the Broncos, 1 touchdown, no picks. Against the Bills, 3 touchdowns, 2 picks in that one. And one of them was late in the game where, you're down by 9 points and you're trying to get something going for the miracle. And that happens to a lot of quarterbacks late. And then against Carolina, 3 touchdowns, no picks. Patrick Mahomes has had a 3 touchdown performance in 3 of his last 4 games. He is playing way better. And again, you're not hearing people say much about it. You're not hearing people say much about it. The people who were very vocal and they had a lot to say about his 6 touchdowns and 8 interceptions in the first 6 games, they're not saying shit in these last 5 games. And listen, I get it. People have a narrative, and when their narrative is not coming to fruition, they want to back out and not really talk about it as much anymore. I find it cowardly. I mean, come on. Like, bring the same energy, whoever you're going to talk about, and, speak in the same volume. But you guys don't know how this works. That's not always how it all works out. I'm going to read some comments here. I see some questions. I see some comments here. Rick says, looking at the Chiefs' schedule, only games I'm concerned about are the Texans and the Steelers. I'm not very concerned about the Texans anymore. I thought the Texans and the Chiefs would have been potential. I thought that could have been maybe an AFC Championship game. I think the Steelers or the Bills. I think the Steelers and Bills, the Bills will probably be the 2 seed and the Steelers will be the 3 seed. And I think the winner of that game will visit Kansas City for the AFC Championship game. So that's, David says Lions or Eagles. Yeah, that looks like the possible NFC Championship matchup there. Before I answer that question, and I'm really inclined to say Eagles because I think Saquon Barkley is the best player in football right now. I really do. But let me talk about the Eagles for a moment because, I get it. Nick Sirianni, not the most popular guy, especially in Kansas City and everywhere else, really. But, man, what was it? Wasn't it a few weeks ago? Sirianni made he had some questionable play calls and decisions going for 2 in weird situations when you're up like 17-0 or something weird like that. And people just thought, what's going on with this guy? Because that decline, like the Eagles came into Arrowhead and they won on Monday Night Football, regardless how it happened with Kelsey's fumble and, of course, the infamous drop by MVS in the end zone. The Chiefs, they lost that football game, and the Eagles, they made a statement coming up from behind in that game in the second half, shutting out the Chiefs. And people thought the Eagles were for real and that they could go back to the Super Bowl. They ran into a brick wall and they crashed. And people kind of wondered, is Nick Sirianni, is he on the hot seat? And now look at the Eagles. By the way, the Eagles, I don't know how many people thought the Eagles were going to win the division before the season. I think a lot of people thought it was going to be the Cowboys. And then as the season went on, at least up until the midway point of the season, people saw Jaden Daniels and what he was doing with Washington, and people thought the Commanders, they look like an unstoppable football team. People could not figure out Jaden Daniels. Oh, the level of concern has really rose in the last 3 games as the Commanders have a 3-game losing streak, and the Eagles have surged during that time span, even before that losing streak started for the Commanders. So I'm really liking the Eagles, David. That's my pick right now. If those 2 teams played head-to-head in an NFC title game, I think there's a strong possibility it's going to be Chiefs-Eagles, a rematch of Super Bowl 57. Before the season, I said Chiefs-Lions. Listen, I think there are a lot of valid reasons to pick the Lions, and I think there are a lot of valid reasons to pick the Eagles to represent the NFC in the Super Bowl. So if those two teams meet in the NFC matchup, boy, that'll be a really fun and entertaining NFC Championship game. David says, how much of a difference do you think it'll make if DJ works out at left tackle? Yeah, we kind of talked about this. It didn't really go fully into it, but I just think, this whole thing with DJ Humphries coming in, first of all, I don't think Brett Veach would have made this move if he felt like Humphries was not physically in a good spot. The best option on a lot of these websites that list free agents, the top option is Donovan Smith. Look, we had Donovan Smith last year. As you guys know, last year, Orlando Brown, he led the NFL in QB pressures allowed. Right behind him was Donovan Smith up until Smith got hurt. I think it was the week of Thanksgiving against the Raiders in Vegas. So to me, it's like, well, okay, you bring Donovan Smith back. What's the difference? You have Donovan Smith, who's very experienced, but bad. And then you have Wanye Morris, who has a little bit of experience, but is bad. And then you have Kingsley Suamataia, who has almost no experience and is bad. So you have guys with different levels of experience, and they're all bad. I don't know what the difference would have been. Instead, you go out there and get a guy who has played some really good football and has been a very reliable left tackle for the Arizona Cardinals, and he's going to be reuniting with DeAndre Hopkins in Kansas City, and that's going to help out for sure. I really do think it's going to be a difference maker, David. That's a game changer right there. What did I tell you guys? I said, as much as I love DeAndre Hopkins coming to Kansas City, I would gladly give that up for a better left tackle. And now, look, you kind of have both now. DeAndre Hopkins playing very well. We already went over the Mahomes stat line and how much better it's been since Hopkins arrived. And by the way, one important thing with Hopkins, this is a guy that's playing with a very, very, very limited knowledge of the offensive playbook. The total number of snaps came out today. Here are the wide receivers. Justin Watson played 48 snaps. That's the most of any wide receiver on the team. And kudos to Justin Watson. I know he had a drop, but man, those two key blocks he had for Patrick Mahomes on that 33-yard run, that if he doesn't have that first block, the first block is far more important than the second block. The second block, he kind of paved the way. The first block, he made one of the Carolina defensive players stumble. And if he doesn't do that, that defender probably would have gotten to Mahomes on time, and Mahomes probably would have been either tackled or forced to slide just short of a first down. Instead, he got the Chiefs to the 22-yard line, I think it was. So that blocking right there by Justin Watson was significant. But Justin Watson had the most snaps for a wide receiver for the Chiefs yesterday with 48. Second, Xavier Worthy, 47. And then Juju Smith-Schuster had 41. So your top three wide receivers in terms of snaps, Justin Watson, Xavier Worthy, and Juju Smith-Schuster. Smith-Schuster had 41. DeAndre Hopkins had 33. DeAndre Hopkins only played 45% of the offensive snaps for the Chiefs. That is less than half of the offensive snaps for the Chiefs while they were on the field. But even though he's playing just 45% of these snaps, or at least in yesterday's game that was the case, during those 43 snaps, it's making a difference. You're starting to see Mahomes and DeAndre Hopkins connect a lot more in these last couple of games. He's getting far more involved while still learning this playbook and this offense mid-season. Him and Mahomes, they're still trying to get a grasp of feeling out each other on the field and having a good understanding, getting that on-field rapport. Which, by the way, with Hollywood Brown, who's expected to come back as early as Christmas, according to Jonathan Jones of CBS Sports, I think it's important that Hollywood Brown plays at least one regular season game. I know that's still very little because Mahomes and Hollywood, all they had was one preseason snap, one freaking snap, man. I don't want Hollywood Brown's debut with the Chiefs, his actual debut, to be in the playoffs, because at that point in the season, you literally have zero understanding of each other. Listen, I know they've been practicing a lot during their own time in OTAs and in training camp. Hollywood Brown has been a big part of was a big part of Kansas City's game plan going into the 2024 season. But unfortunately, injuries had other plans, and we haven't seen Hollywood Brown play an actual game for the Chiefs yet. If he can play in that Christmas game against the Steelers, just kind of get his feet wet, have an understanding, it's going to have like a preseason field type of moment with for Hollywood Brown. But I'll gladly take one game before the playoffs start, because maybe two, depending on Kansas City's situation with the 1 seed going into Week 18. But if you can get at least one game in together, I think that's going to help a lot. And the Chiefs can, let the rest kind of figure it out on its own during the playoffs here. Because if you have DeAndre Hopkins, if you have Hollywood Brown and Xavier Worthy, Travis Kelce, Noah Gray, who's turned into a very viable option, and I see some Noah Gray comments, I'll get to those in a moment. It's going to be a good offense for the Chiefs. And again, what did we talk about last year? You got to just flip the switch if you're the Chiefs. Well, they did that. It still was not perfect, far from it. But, man, they did flip a switch and start playing much better offensively speaking. The drops were much lower, still existed, but they were much lower. The production was just far better. MVS was reliable against the Bills, had the game-sealing catch against the Ravens, had the touchdown in the Super Bowl to get the Chiefs offense going. I mean, MVS turned into a reliable option. Travis Kelce played way better in the playoffs than he did in the regular season. McCole Hardman had a pretty big gaffe in that Buffalo playoff game, giving them a chance to tie. But boy, I mean, he came through in the Super Bowl with that big catch and also with the game-winning catch to win the Super Bowl, guaranteeing it 2 years in a row. But I think this whole thing right now with the Chiefs, offensively, they're playing better. At the right time, they're getting these pieces here. If they waited a little longer to get Hopkins, somebody else would have gotten him. So they went out there and got DeAndre Hopkins. You're noticing a difference on the field already with Hopkins. People said, oh, he's too old now, can't really do much with him. Well, that's not true. Hopkins has made a big difference for the Chiefs in these last 5 games. Offensive line, they've gotten worse, specifically the tackles. You're hoping DJ Humphries is going to be a home run signing for you, because if not, you're probably going to be concerned. And I know the Chiefs have had bad offensive tackle play these last 2 seasons where they've won the Super Bowl, but that's not the ideal way of going about winning a Super Bowl. It's not. It's really not. So hopefully the Chiefs can get a good player in DJ Humphries, and hopefully he pans out. Hopefully he really does. Robert says Noah Gray and Mahomes beginning to gel reliably. Let's see more of that connection. Yeah, and I think that's showing that this connection between Mahomes and Gray. First of all, Brett Veach, to extend Gray the way he did before the season, could not have been better timing. Could not have been better timing. Is it true the new kicker getting injured? Not that I know of. Not that I know of, Jonathan. Dave says, like Andy said, both sides need to fire up on both sides at the same time. Yeah, it's been kind of frustrating that we haven't we haven't seen these guys play well at the same damn time. I feel like that's honestly been like a perfect reflection of Chiefs history. Like in the early the beginning of Chiefs football, I guess if you will, the defense was far better than the offense. Hence why you have far more defensive players in the Hall of Fame than offensive players. Then in the 70s, 80s, I mean, the Chiefs were just bad. But then in the 90s with Marty Ball, it was a defense that was getting a lot of the job done there. And in the Dick Vermeil era, it was far more the offense than the defense. And then early in the Andy Reid era, it was more the defense than the offense. Remember that? The defense doing what it did in 2013. And then in 2014, the Chiefs offense did not have a touchdown pass to a wide receiver. What is with wide receivers in the Andy Reid era? No touchdown passes for a whole season. The drops in another season. Like, come on. We've had like terrible luck with the receivers. And we're still winning games. Imagine that. But then, the offense picks up in the Mahomes era. And then lately it's more of the defense. It's like, man, good thing one of these sides are they're stepping up, because if it wasn't for that side, I don't know. Well, don't even want to imagine that scenario, which, by the way, leads me to my next point here. Because a lot of people are talking about how the Chiefs are so close in these games and that, they're surviving because they get Isaiah Likely to step out of bounds by a toe, and that the Bengals rookie defender commits pass interference at the worst possible time, and that the Falcons run like the worst play possible on 4th and inches. What other scenarios? I mean, the Chargers, you had to rally to overcome the early disaster that was going on with the Chiefs in that game. What else was going on? The Chiefs, the Broncos, a blocked field goal. What other moments? I mean, I guess in this one here, now it's, if Mahomes doesn't run for 33 yards, it's like, okay, we're now going into it. I heard Nick Wright, the way he put it was, we're discussing scenarios that didn't happen. Because, people are like, well, what if Isaiah Likely's foot was in bounds? Well, it wasn't in bounds. Okay, but what if Tyler Bass made that field goal last year? Well, he didn't make that field goal. And by the way, I love how people go to that Buffalo game so much about how Tyler Bass, it's all his fault that he missed the kick. First of all, there was a minute and a half left and the Chiefs had 2 timeouts. Kansas City's offense was carving up the Buffalo defense. Second of all, I mentioned this earlier, but I'll say it again. McCole Hardman fumbled at the 1-yard line and it rolled into the end zone for a touchback. So if McCole Hardman doesn't fumble, or if the Chiefs don't get cute with their play calling and they just give it to freaking Pacheco, who was dominating that Buffalo defense, Kansas City goes up by 10. McCole Hardman fumbling is the only reason why Buffalo had a chance to tie it late in that game. But again, people want to talk about scenarios that could have worked against the Chiefs. Again, narratives. It's always funny how that all works out. So the narratives that keep coming up about the Chiefs, it's like, okay, at this point, you're just mad that the scenarios that didn't go against the Chiefs are not actually happening. They've won 16 of their last 17 games. They won 15 in a row before losing to Buffalo. You don't win 15 in a row by just being lucky. You don't win 15 in a row by getting help from the refs every time. You know what's really funny? But I mean, again, narratives. There are people out there saying that the Chiefs beat the Panthers because of the refs. Oh, you are a big-time casual if that's what you think happened in the game. You think the refs helped the Chiefs? Oh, go watch that game, buddy. You know what? Here, screen record me right now saying this, and I guarantee you no one's going to take me up on this. I will gladly do a live stream with anybody, and we can't do it on Facebook due to copyright restrictions, but we can do it on another platform. I will live stream and watch that Carolina game with anyone who thinks the Chiefs benefit from the refs from start to finish, and you tell me who benefited more from bad calls and missed calls. But I guarantee you no one's going to take me up on that. Nobody. We'll watch the condensed version, which is less than an hour. But again, narratives. Here's another thing. I always tell people, if you really think the Chiefs are rigging it so much, why not just bet on the games? I'm sorry, the refs are rigging it for the Chiefs. Why not just bet on the games? And I get like the craziest excuses as to why people won't bet on the games. It's hilarious, man. Come on, like, pick one. It's either it is or it isn't happening. But again, here's the thing. Great teams like the Chiefs, they find a way to overcome bad calls and just situations, just close games like that. And I heard DA, who used to be on 610 Radio, he's now on Mad Dog Sports Radio. Big fan of DA. He did say something today that I just was kind of flabbergasted by. He says, oh, well, the Chiefs are running on fumes because they're in these close games. Did you not pay attention to the Chiefs in 2022, the year Patrick Mahomes was the regular season and Super Bowl MVP? The Chiefs had a lot of close games in that. They had 5 ugly wins that year. 2 against the Broncos, 1 against the Texans, 1 against the Raiders. Remember the Raiders won Monday Night Football when the Chiefs had to come back down 17-0? Chris Jones roughing the passer, that one, when the passer didn't even have the ball in his hand. That game. And then there was another ugly win that year. I can't remember which one it was. And by the way, the Chiefs lost to the Colts that year, a game they absolutely should not have lost. They still won the Super Bowl. So again, everyone wants to get all excited about the Chiefs and their struggles and their in these close games that should not be close. Guys, I've heard this scenario many times. And it's not just 1 year. I mean, it's been going on a long time. Last year with the drop passes, most penalized offensive and defensive players, losing games they should not have lost last year. Remember that? They won the Super Bowl. The year before that had some close games. Chiefs always have close games. A lot of close games that should not be close. And by the way, what was the thing about 2022? Oh, yeah, it was going to be a down year or a rebuilding year. One of those years. I can't remember which one anymore. It's hard to keep track because Kansas City has success a lot of years now. And, you know, the Chiefs won the Super Bowl that year. All that talk about how this Chiefs team was going to look without Tyreek Hill. They've won the Super Bowl every year without him. And obviously this year is far from complete. But so far, the Chiefs, without Tyreek Hill in their third year without him, they were the last team to drop a game. And they're tied for the league's best record. So, I mean, they're doing just fine with that Tyreek Hill. It's funny because Stephen A. Smith last year in the after the Chiefs lost to the Eagles on Monday Night Football when MVS dropped that pass, Stephen A. Smith said, "Oh, well, they should have paid Tyreek Hill." You waited a year and a half to say that, and then what does Stephen A. Smith say 10 months later, which was 2 months ago? He says Tyreek Hill made a mistake and should have stayed in Kansas City. Oh boy, how the tables have turned. It's always interesting. Again, the narratives. Saquon is a cheat code like Jamal Charles. Saquon's insane. Saquon is insane. What's up, Saran? The Commanders are cursed. I don't think, I mean, it's not over yet, but they got to really pick it up because that NFC conference is way better than I think a lot of people anticipated. People always feel like the AFC is going to be loaded with talent. And listen, don't get me wrong, there are good AFC teams, but I don't think anyone thought I think the way the NFC looks right now, people thought was going to be the case with the AFC. And I don't know, maybe if the Bengals had a better record, maybe the narrative would be a little different, but that's not the case. Again, like the Bengals, that's another good example. People keep talking about, you know, the Bengals are in so many close games. Burrow and Chase have all these great stats, but they're not. Just one thing needs to go right, but it's not going right. You're not winning these close games, even though you have great stats. Like, it's funny. Somebody, I think it was a Bengals fan too. They created an NFL standings graphic, and they flipped every team's record for all of the one-score games they've been involved in, and the Chiefs have the worst record in the NFL. It's like, okay, now we're just playing something that's even beyond fantasy football at this rate. Now you're just pretending. What if the Chiefs were? At the time, the Chiefs were 9-0. So I think their record was like 2-7 because they only flipped the close games. So now you're like, okay, what if the Chiefs were 2-7? Well, they're not. They're 9-0. I mean, there were a lot of people out there who said the Chiefs are going to start the season 0-2. Well, it's Thanksgiving week, and the Chiefs have yet to lose their second game. And what did I say at the beginning of the month, you guys? I said, if the Chiefs can go into the month of December, at the very least, with a record of 12-1 into December, I'll be very confident with their positioning for the number 1 seed. Very comfortable. They got the Raiders this Friday. I was about to say Sunday. Friday. This week, a majority of the teams are playing in December. But the Chiefs for week, what are we in? 13 now? 14, 15? No, 13 or 14. Hard to keep track. But the Chiefs, if they win this game on Friday, they'll have one loss going into the month of December. And that's significant right there. Absolutely a huge deal. Week 13, my bad. Jumping ahead a little bit there. Chargers up 10-0 early in the second. Boy, Lamar Jackson, that MVP conversation, boy, that's going well. And then remember Isaiah Likely after that first game? He's like, oh, if that's how they beat us, we're going to be better than them. Bro, like, come on. And listen, I'm a huge fan of Derrick Henry. I don't understand the hate for Derrick Henry. People keep saying he's washed up. He's obviously leading the NFL in rushing yards right now, but again, like him and Saquon, the two best running backs. If you're going to pick an MVP from the Ravens, it's not Lamar. It is Derrick Henry, 1,000%. See, they're giving it to him, down by 10. If you're down by 10, what is the logic in running the ball? Oh, yeah, for Baltimore, there is a logic because their running back's name is Derrick Henry. There's a reason why they're using Derrick Henry down by 10 right now rather than Lamar. The proof is right here in front of, I'm watching on my phone here. Shout outs to YouTube TV. The evidence is right here. Down by 10, they're using Derrick Henry, not the supposed MVP. But again, I digress. Brenda says, I think Mahomes has been better, but I'm quite disappointed in the number of sacks. Where's his protection? Hopefully it's coming. DJ Humphries. That's what a lot of people were asking yesterday, and rightfully so. And by the way, I think 2 of those sacks are a little misleading because Mahomes, he took those sacks because he did not see any area where he could have completed a pass. And if you have an incompletion, time stops and the Panthers get to keep their timeouts. Luckily for the Panthers, because of the bad punt from Ariza, they had great. Oh no, I'm sorry, it wasn't because of Ariza. I think the penalty played a role in that more so. But they were able to. Oh no, I thought Lamar had a touchdown there. He was about to prove me wrong there. But I think even though you were trying to be strategic and force them to use their timeouts, they didn't. The Panthers did not need their timeouts. Fortunately, I did say this while it was happening. I said, look, at least the Panthers left a lot of time on the clock. And we haven't seen a lot of game-winning situations for the Chiefs in tied or down situations. The only one I can think of is the Bengals. Now, if we're being honest, the Chiefs didn't do much there. They got some help because the Bengals are just bad and they cracked under pressure. But again, you can't ever apologize for another team's mishap. Do you think other teams are apologizing that Kansas City's missing all of these wide receivers and running backs? What did I tell you guys before the season? I said the only thing that's stopping the Chiefs from repeating, injuries. Oh boy, am I wrong with that one. That did not age well. The Chiefs have been decimated with injuries. They've been playing without wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2, running backs 1 and 2 for a majority of the season, and they're still winning games. They are 10-1. Literally, they're 10-1 with all of these injuries. Cornerback 2 is out. I mean, they're doing all kinds of things. Meanwhile, Derrick Henry's doing all kinds of things, getting them inside the 5 now. So, yeah, there's my there's the MVP talk there. Will says Justin Watson is trash. Just stop. I don't know if you're talking to me or somebody else in the comments, Will, but listen, I don't think Justin Watson is this great wide receiver, but I stand by everything I said about him today, that if it wasn't for him throwing those 2 blocks, you don't, maybe you still win the game, but you certainly improved your chances and you made it much easier in those final moments. I mean, those are 2 significant, like, we don't talk about wide receivers and the key blocks they throw sometimes, because that's not what wide receivers are known for, obviously. But when they do that, you got to give them credit. And Justin Watson deserves a lot of credit, making up for that drop he had earlier in the game. Elena says, I really hope DJ Humphries will prove the elite protection. I think you meant to say improve the elite protection to MVP Pat at all means necessary. Yeah, that's what a lot of people are bringing. If that left tackle play improves, Chiefs offense is going to play much better. And hopefully the defense can pick it up. And by the way, I mentioned earlier, I think the defense is getting way too much shit for the Buffalo game. I mean, if you guys remember, at halftime, the score was 16-14. And there goes Lamar. Okay. Oh, okay. All right. I see you, Lamar. But in that game against Buffalo, it was 16-14 at halftime, and it was the same score going into the fourth quarter. The Chiefs defense, they were getting stops. Absolutely getting stops. The problem was the offense, they didn't get going until it was too late in the fourth quarter. So if the Chiefs offense, if they played more consistently in that game against Buffalo, I think Kansas City's defense would not have been worn out so much. Listen, a good offense helps a good defense. I mean, if your defense is getting you all of these stops, but offensively you're not returning the favor by putting together a touchdown drive, well, then that's going to hurt your defense. No defense is going to like that. I'm not making excuses for the defense. I mean, they definitely failed on that fourth down play right there when they looked like they had Josh Allen contained, but they just let loose and they let Allen off and they let him go to the end zone. So a friend saying, what's up with FAU? That guy's missing. Is he hurt? A lot of people have been talking about this. FAU has had flashes. Now, when you draft a guy in the first round, you don't draft someone to have flashes. So I think I think at the end of the day, you're hoping that FAU will pick it up, but there's a reason why you sell Charles Omenihu. There's a reason why you went out there and re-signed Mike Dana. There's a reason why you got Joshua Uche. There's a reason why you got Cam Thomas, even though Cam Thomas hasn't been playing much, which is interesting. So I don't know. Okay, this whole thing with Spencer Schrader. Hold on. Let me read this. I'll do it live with you guys. Arrowhead Live is saying, I have been told Spencer Schrader pulled a hamstring and is out this week and will be replaced by Matthew Wright. Additionally, I'm told Peyton Hendershot was also injured during practice and will be placed on IR. This was 2 hours ago. Huh. Okay. I mean, no one else is saying anything about it. I mean, listen, I'm not familiar with Arrowhead Live too much. I've had a couple of, they've DM'd me a couple of times. It seems like they're cool people. I'm not saying they're lying. But I, with all due respect to them, I do want to wait for a more reliable source on that one. Serena says Noah had to step up because Travis sure isn't. Listen, Travis' production level has not been as great. I mean, he's 35. He's been playing better recently, for sure. He's just not the Travis Kelce of old, and that's okay. He's, getting older. Noah Gray has been groomed to be the next tight end for the Kansas City Chiefs. Right now, I guess there's some concerns, or at least maybe some questions as to whether or not the kid from TCU, Jared Wiley, he's hurt right now. He suffered a season-ending injury. Maybe he can come back and be stronger. Who knows? Be better and stronger. But for right now, Noah Gray's the guy. He's playing really good football, and he could be your number one tight end a year from now. We'll see. But the way I see it, I think the Chiefs have two good tight ends. They've got a number one in Travis Kelce, who will step up for you when you need it the most. And then you have Noah Gray, who's really coming into his own now. He really is. Yeah, I just saw that too, Mary, and I'm not sure. I haven't seen any significant reports of it. Let me quickly check Spencer Schrader's Instagram. He posted a religious quote about 8 minutes ago. For what it's worth, I know people love to people love to look into things like that. I'll wait for the Chiefs on that one. Again, no disrespect to the podcast that's putting it out there. It's just, I'll trust I'll trust the Chiefs before it becomes official. And if they're right, hey, good on them. But hopefully they're wrong, because I don't know. Was there any truth to Hendershot? Okay, this is the same question. We kind of just went over this, but thanks for the question, Kevin. Kelsey got to feel some type of way when Gray stealing that spotlight a little. I don't think so, David, because on one of the touchdowns, I think it was, I think it was the first touchdown when Noah Gray was wide open. Travis Kelsey was the first one who went up to him, smiling and congratulating him. I think at the end of the day, you just want to find ways to win. Travis Kelsey realizes, he's not playing as great as well as he once did. But if the someone else on offense can help pick up the slack, I don't think he minds. I think he just wants that fourth ring before he rides off into the sunset. Because I said this last year and I was wrong, but I'll say it again. I really do think this is going to be Travis Kelsey's final season with the Chiefs. I know he's at an all-time high in life right now. Maybe not on the field, but still, you're winning games. So I guess on and off the field still. With all the opportunities he has, and obviously he's got a much bigger fan base now thanks to his relationship. So I don't know. I mean, I can see this being his final season. I really do. Yeah, that's why they signed DJ Humphries. David says the what ifs kill me. Yeah, I get you. I said I could argue Alex Smith could have went all the way if it wasn't for Brady. I mean, to me, it's just like everyone wants to do the what if. What if, who was it? David Tyree didn't catch the ball with his helmet against the Patriots in that Super Bowl. What if Eli Manning didn't escape the pressure at the time? What if the rules for forward progress or sacks were applied then in that Super Bowl? It's like, people always want to just do the what if game, coulda, woulda, shoulda. It kind of reminds me of George Pickens. You guys saw Thursday Night Football last week when it was snowing in the second half, and George Pickens said that the Steelers were saved. I'm sorry, not the Steelers. Who was the other team from last week? I'm drawing a complete blank right now. The Browns. That's who it was. The Browns. Because George Pickens was saying that the Browns basically got saved by the weather conditions. Dude, I hear fans say this a lot when weather happens and whoever loses, it was the weather conditions. Really? So what? Did it like rain or snow on just one side of the line of scrimmage? That makes zero sense. And then, Super Bowl 57, the field was slippery. Was it only slippery on the Eagles side? Like, come on, that makes no sense when you're bitching about conditions and whatever. It's like both teams played in the same field and in the same stadium. It's not like, it rained on one side of the line of scrimmage. Like, come on. It sounds silly, but that's what people do. You can't do that. There was a Buffalo Bills player who did the exact same thing when the Bills lost to the Bengals in the playoffs a couple of years ago. Oh, if the weather was, the weather was not clear, man. It's January. You're going to have games possibly in bad, very cold weather. The Dolphins did the same thing last year with the Chiefs. It was cold. Okay, but you played them in Germany last year too on a neutral playing field, and both teams dealt with the same conditions. And listen, Tyreek Hill's played in cold weather before. Tua's played in cold weather before. It's not like these guys have stayed in Miami, trapped in Miami their entire lives up until that playoff game. Like, come on. I mean, did it that Week 18 game on Sunday Night Football last year between the Bills and the Dolphins? Wasn't that one in Miami and the Bills basically choked the number 2 seed away to Buffalo? So is it really weather? I don't think so. Again, excuses, narratives, all that stuff. Yeah, so we don't know who the quarterback is going to be yet. They do have who's the guy who beat the Chiefs last year, despite throwing no completions for 3 quarters. Aiden O'Connell. So Aiden O'Connell is on IR, but he is expected to come back. Gardner Minshew broke his clavicle, so he's out for the season. So their quarterbacks are Desmond Ridder and Aiden O'Connell. By the way, I had no idea Desmond Ridder was with the Raiders until I saw that injury to Minshew. I had no idea whatsoever. Bengals should have never given away Joe Mixon. Look at what he's doing now. I mean, Moss is not a bad running back, but I don't know what difference that would have made, in my opinion. Can we talk about why on earth, in capital letters from Jessica, we have a midday game on Friday? Because the NFL is doing a Black Friday game every year now. They started this last year, and the Chiefs are now the second team to play on Black Friday. It's going to be the second game on Black Friday involving the Chiefs. Who did the Dolphins play last year on Black Friday? Dolphins, Black Friday. I was in Vegas last year during Thanksgiving because of the Chiefs Raiders game in Vegas. So I don't recall who the Dolphins play. I just remember it being the Dolphins. Dolphins Jets. That's right. It was Dolphins Jets. Yeah, I'm sure Amazon was thrilled with that one, because I thought it would have been Rodgers versus Tua, but no. Yeah, a lot of people keep asking about Spencer Schrader. I have no idea, guys. It's a rumor right now. It's unconfirmed, but it is out there. It is being mentioned. It's official. Is it official? Let me look it up one last time. Yeah, I'm not seeing it from an official source. Again, like not to criticize whoever reported or any of that stuff. Any chance that Rice plays in the Super Bowl? No, he's out, unfortunately, Christopher. Unless something comes up, but that knee, I mean, it's hard to come back from September to February. It'd be very difficult. It'd be very, very difficult. Guy they just drafted, baby Kelsey, that got hurt. I don't know what that means. Yeah, I mean, 3 sacks on Mahomes. He had 2 more, but again, I mentioned earlier, 2 of them were, gimme sacks because Mahomes just kind of slid down even before the attack got there because he wanted to let time go or forced him to use timeouts. What if Jawan Taylor did his job? What if a lot of people did their jobs right? Yeah, if Jawan Taylor plays better and DJ Humphries at the same time coming in, that's nice. I like the sound of that, John. I'm not holding my breath on that happening, though. But Jawan Taylor's got to understand this might be his last season with the Chiefs, and he signed a very big deal with the Chiefs. I'm not going to put it past Brett Veach to just cut ties with Jawan Taylor and say, look, dude, you're not living up to your contract. You're not doing what we asked you to do. The Ravens got stuffed on 3rd down in their own 18, and they're going for it. Oh, okay, this is interesting. I don't know. I mean, Andy Reid kind of lined up in his own 20-some yard line last week. Yeah, there's no way they're going for it. Yeah, when quarterbacks do the whole jumping thing, like hut, they don't mean it. Now he's in shotgun. Yeah. When you clap your hands so fast and stomp your feet to make it look like you're going to snap the ball, you don't mean it. You don't really mean it. You're not really going to go for it. It just looks so rudimentary. Refs, injuries, conditions, excuses. Yeah, we're getting all kinds of excuses. I've never just been a big fan of it. Look, man, you either win or you lose. This is a good question from Lori. Do you think DJ Humphrey? I assume you mean DJ Humphries and not Creed Humphrey. Do you think DJ Humphries will play Friday? I hope so. I mean, he was signed today. The Chiefs have not said anything, which is a little weird. Look, I don't know how much longer you can afford to have Patrick Mahomes get beat to hell in the pocket. I don't know how long that can go on for. I've seen people say, well, he's got to learn the offense. Okay, but what do you need to learn if you're an offensive tackle? Oh, maybe you got to, have an idea of where Patrick might be, because Patrick, is a different quarterback. He certainly moves around, maybe sometimes more than he needs to, but that's just his style of play. And then I think you got to just learn, hey, in these screenplay situations, this is where you got to go. But I mean, he's run those plays before as an offensive tackle. I don't care what offensive system you go into. I think any left tackle can play in any system. You just got to have a good understanding of what your quarterback is going to do at what time. That's all. I mean, the longer you have Wanye Morris out there or Kingsley Suamataia, whoever is the left tackle, the more bad news it is for Patrick Mahomes. I mean, he's not going to be able to be heroic and bail out the left tackle every single time, which he has a few times. Not every single time, though. So hopefully they get better about it. And maybe you see Humphries much sooner rather than later. I mean, listen, you got some key pass rushers coming up. You have Max Crosby in a game coming up soon. He switches it up a lot at the defensive line, lining up on the left side, on the right side. You've got a really big Sunday night game coming up as well, where you've got Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa. You're going to need two good offensive tackles. So Jawan Taylor is definitely going to need help on the right side, but you definitely will need DJ Humphries in that game. I've been saying for a while, I think he's going to play this Friday game. If not, for sure he's got to play that Sunday night game. I would be shocked if he's not playing Sunday night against the Chargers on December the 8th. And that's going to be the same night Tamba Hali goes into the Hall of Fame. Oh, they're going for it on 4th and 1 from the 17. Oh, this is close. Oh, they got the first down. Okay. That is a very gutsy play call right there. Boy, I didn't think they were going to go for it, but they did. Okay. And that was not Lamar, was it? I don't think it was. No, it was not Lamar Jackson. Look, I've always criticized the Chiefs for not running a QB sneak with Mahomes. I've had a change of heart, man. I'm like, you know what? Oh, Lamar got destroyed for a sack. My thing is, you know what? With all these injuries now, screw it. Don't ever run a sneak with Mahomes again. I mean, it's a 1 in 50,000 chance, but I guess you don't want to run that risk ever. You just don't. All right. Hey, a lot of great questions, a lot of great conversations on tonight's podcast. Thank you guys so much for tuning into the live podcast. And for those of you who listened and watch later, appreciate you guys as well. All the questions, comments, all that stuff. Really great stuff. I appreciate you guys. Obviously, this is going to be a very crazy week because we have a Friday game and we have a holiday the same week. So tomorrow, less than 24 hours from now, we will be doing the Chiefs Zone podcast. It'll be like a Wednesday show, but it's just going to be on a Tuesday. So come back 7 o'clock Central Time tomorrow. We will do the Chiefs and Raiders preview and breakdown. Hopefully we'll have somewhat of an injury report, although it may not be too much to lean on because these kinds of things are going to be different. I guess we'll have some sort of an update on Spencer Schrader. If the rumors are true, we'll figure that out. We'll see what happens there, but we'll break down that game between the Chiefs and the Raiders for Black Friday or Red Friday, whichever you prefer. My name is Farzi Vasugian. Appreciate you guys joining me for this episode of the Chiefs Zone podcast. I am out. I'll talk to you all later. Take care.